Hey everybody, welcome to Real Geek News. I'm one of your Guardians of the Galaxy, Kevin Andrew Rivera. We got our co-host here, Raul Ceballos. Raul, how you doing?
Hello.
You are also a Guardian of the Galaxy.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But then we got our high evolutionary, Ted Evans. Ted, how are you, my guy?
I'm angry.
You are angry at the world.
Yelling
Nothing is
like in the movie.
Well, then welcome everybody. We are here to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, directed by James Gunn. So let's get right on into it. We got our ratings that we always bring up here. We got IMDb, 8.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, critic score 82% with an audience score of 95%. Metacritic score, we got a critic score of 64% and a user score of 7.9% out of 10. Or 7.9 out of 10. That's what I'm trying to say. No percentages on that one. Technically, it's a 79. It's almost a B. Come on. Gentlemen, let me just say off the bat on this, I think this is the movie that gave me hope again for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but at the same time flattened my hope because James Gunn is leaving the MCU.
It's bittersweet, yeah.
I think this was a spectacular movie, and I think these ratings are pretty much on, except for that user score for Metacritic, 7.9. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Well, and the critic score on Metacritic too is pretty low.
That too. What's up with Metacritic, man?
I don't know.
I think they just don't like James Gunn's writing. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
They're all run by Snyder Bros. That's
They're all run by Snyder Bros. Exactly. Well then, gentlemen, I want to hear some overall thoughts from you, though. Ted, why don't we start with you, my dude? What did you think of this movie going into it? How'd you feel coming out? What's going through your head?
You know, it's funny because not everyone is a James Gunn fanatic. You know, I've loved his stuff since Slither, you know, that horror movie back in the day is great, you know, all the practical effects. And then being the superhero guy, I think he's really doing a good job. I'm very curious to see The Flash, which he didn't have that much to do with, but I'm curious to see his new stuff for sure. Yeah. I don't know that he's the answer to every single movie that is going to come out, but he really knew what he was doing with the Guardians, and I think delivered on all of the kind of, you know, promises of the first one. And I really thought this was a fantastic movie. But I had friends in my group chat that were hated it. Just ripping on it. Yeah. Just ripping on it. Thought it was emotional manipulation. Thought it was lame. Just didn't like the soundtrack choices, stuff like that. I mean, it's all subjective, but personally, I cried. I saw this 2 days in a row. And I cried like a little baby and thought some of the action was some of the best in the whole series.
Dude, for real. Raul, how about you?
I was pleasantly surprised. I was really worried going in because of, you know, as we know of the streak that Marvel has had lately with their films, has just been, they're all kind of been in the middle, you know, mediocre and just kind of. And I'm so happy to finally say that I can love a Marvel movie again. When everything before I was just all like, yeah, you know, it's fine. Yeah. I'm so happy that I don't get to say that anymore because I loved this movie. And like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. There was so much emotion. And like you, Ted, I cried like a little baby. I've seen this movie twice now. I saw it the first time with you, Kevin, when it first came out.
Yes, sir.
And then I rewatched it last night because I had an opportunity to go see it, and I rewatched it last night, and still just as good as the first time I saw it. So I'm really high on this movie. I'm hopeful that this might be a sign of better things to come with Marvel. But like you said, Kevin, we're losing James Gunn. Marvel's losing James Gunn, so I don't know. I'm not holding my breath quite yet. But at the same time, this also has me looking forward to the future of DC.
Dude, I mean, let's just talk about Adam Warlock flying around. Didn't that just give you Superman vibes all the way through?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I know the characters are completely different characters, but just watching the flight sequences, you can already tell James Gunn is already thinking about this stuff. How would I do a Superman movie?
The scene where he has to go save his mom as his planet's exploding, that in particular looked really cool.
Yeah, that was
so
awesome.
Superman-y. Super duper Superman-y.
Kind of did this fisheye lens, so his face is super stretched out because he's going so fast. I thought it looked excellent.
Yeah. And it's cool because it's, you finish this movie and by the end, I guess most of us are very hyped about it. And now we have something to look forward to for James Gunn in the future for his Superman stuff and the whole
Right.
DC universe. Like, if this movie had done very poorly in quality, I would have been really skeptical about the DC universe afterwards, I think. Even though it's kind of like, that's an exaggeration of like, you shouldn't judge an entire franchise of movies off of just Guardians 3. But like, I don't know, I'm glad it ended up being as good as it did because it left me with a positive thought for the future of James Gunn. So I'm more psyched now about DC than I am about Marvel, which is kind of crazy, but it's just nice to have that little reboot button and just kind of start from scratch and keep going, you know? Maybe Marvel should do the same because of the whole Jonathan Majors situation. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but that's definitely my 2 cents in that as well. But well then, gentlemen, why don't we start right on into this whole thing here? We gave our overall thoughts. Let's go from scene to scene, talk about how we feel about each thing here with the beginning of our movie. The movie opens on baby raccoons trapped in a cage. One of the baby raccoons turn out to be Rocket. We see a menacing hand reaching out for him. The scene transitions to current time Rocket, where he lives in nowhere with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Their community is thriving. People are dancing, working on infrastructure. Peter Quill is drinking and passes out. At their new headquarters on Nowhere, the Guardians of the Galaxy are attacked by Adam Warlock, a sovereign warrior created by their high priestess Aisha. Nebula uses an Iron Man-like suit to battle Adam, but is thrown around like a rag doll. Groot steps in too, but is beheaded. Drax gets a few good hits in, but ultimately gets beaten by Adam. After Adam overpowers them and critically wounds Rocket, he's stabbed by Nebula and forced to flee. The Guardians realize that they're unable to tend to Rocket's wounds due to a kill switch made by the company OrgoCorp embedded in him. They travel to OrgoCorp's headquarters in order to find the override code. So this whole opening sequence thing was pretty trippy. I feel like we all kind of went into this knowing that Rocket Raccoon's the main center of attention for this. Specifically because James Gunn, that's all he could really talk about when he talked about this movie. I wonder how audience goers felt who didn't watch James Gunn talk about this stuff and they just went in completely cold, not knowing what to expect, how they felt about the raccoon stuff. But that all being said, the Peter Quill passing out thing, did any of you guys like see that scene and go, oh my God, that's from the trailer? I thought that was going to be like halfway through the movie. Geez, here it is in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Where he's passing out. I didn't even see that in any of the marketing. Him passing out from being drunk. Oh, are you talking about when they're carrying him out?
Yeah, when they're carrying him out, he's completely wasted and passed out.
Right.
And that was a prosthetic, right? That was
yes.
That was
I saw that.
Yeah.
James Gunn put out that video on social media. That was so fascinating. It looks so realistic.
Somebody did an amazing job at something that seems like they could have just had him lie in somebody's like, like, wow, incredible. Was this really necessary?
Probably not. Probably not.
I don't know if you heard
it was a psych out because it was, we think, oh, Star-Lord's gonna die or something.
Right.
That's what I thought going into this one. Someone's gonna die. And
the marketing was not. First of all, the marketing was not shy on showing like, oh, this is going to focus a lot on Rocket. And also the marketing was not shy on really putting it out there like someone could die. Like they really kind of made you think this was going to happen to somebody. And the movie was actually pretty good about at different points making you think, oh, is this person going to die? Oh, no, this person's going to die. Oh, no, this person's going to die. Just like kind of like messing with your head. But yeah, the marketing was pretty strong about that.
Wait, Ted, is that the reason why your buddies were like, oh, it's emotionally like making me blah blah blah?
I had another friend who was kind of in on it, and he said that it was like, oh, it's kind of toothless because as in like they should have killed somebody off. And I was thinking, I mean, they killed an entire planet of animal people.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of people getting killed. I mean, yeah,
your friend's like, not enough.
Not enough. Someone got Rocket at least.
More death. Yeah. I like this first scene. I really like the intro with the song Creep, and we're just watching Rocket. He's playing the song and he's just like walking through nowhere, just kind of checking up on this and that, and we're just focused on him this whole time on this one on this single shot. and it's so fascinating how much emotion comes through in the animation of Rocket. I'm so impressed with how they've been able to do this with Rocket and get you so connected with him. That whole time where he's walking around nowhere and it's focused on him, it just, his face, you can tell he's going through something, he's thinking about something. It makes you, I was going, what is he thinking about? What's going on in his head? It's
Is
just
it
like,
sad? I totally laughed when Adam Warlock burst in through the window. I thought it was so funny the first time because you just don't see it coming. You know, he just ripped
yeah,
through.
yeah,
How did Adam Warlock know that he was in that window? Like that's hilarious to me.
yeah, yeah.
He was
And
specifically going after him, right? I mean, that's the whole reason why
yeah,
they went over there.
exactly. No, that part was brutal, man. That whole opening scene with Adam Warlock just coming in and beating the shit out of everybody. I was not expecting this movie to start off so quickly with that much intensity. And he's just like knocking him down. I mean, Drax, Nebula, Quill, I mean, none of these guys were able to get, the upper hand on him.
Yeah, I think this is also, the whole thing we've been talking about how we thought everybody was gonna die, basically. When this scene started and he, Adam Warlock throws Nebula and chucks her like a rag doll, I was like, she's dead. That girl's dead. But then I remembered she had that ability to heal and whatever. But then he decapitates Groot. I'm like, he's dead. Oh wait, no, he has that ability to go back and grow back as a tree. And
Yeah.
then he started punching out Drax. He's dead, right? Okay, is he dead? Come on, is he dead or not? Somebody die in the beginning. Let me just make it clear though. I'm glad no one died by the end. None of the Guardians died by the end because I actually really like the way it ended. But again, we're gonna get to that. But any last few thoughts on this opening sequence, you guys? Well, then, all right. Yes, Raul.
No, I was just going to say this really kind of started me, I kind of realized after this opening scene and then throughout the rest of the movie, this is probably the most violent Guardians film, if not the most violent MCU film I have ever seen.
It was pretty violent.
And it doesn't pull any punches.
And then Deadpool 3 is going to come out pretty soon.
Yeah, that's true.
That'll basically just take that off the shelf.
Yeah.
All right, then next up we got, as Rocket lies unconscious, he recalls his past. The first of many flashbacks, Rocket is thrown into a new cage where he meets 3 other animals that were experimented on, like him. We don't know their names yet, but we do know that they care about Rocket and try to help him cope with his fears. In the present time, we see Adam Warlock being held by his mother, the Queen of the Sovereign. We also meet the High Evolutionary, the creator of the Sovereign race, and multiple other societies. The High Evolutionary demonstrates to us the power he has over Adam Warlock by using some sort of force push on him. Turns out that the Sovereign was working for their creator the whole time, looking for Rocket. But the Sovereign realizes that the Guardians will have to come to him to save Rocket. Or the High Evolutionary realizes that the Guardians are gonna. Yeah, you guys know what I'm saying. Can I be honest? That this sequence when he pushes Adam Warlock up and then to the wall, I was like, oh, that's Kang. Isn't he just Kang? That's what Kang does.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And Ant-Man?
At this point, we've seen so many characters with so many different power sets. It's bound that we're going to see some overlap now. We're starting to see some overlap with the power sets.
I was like, oh.
Because he's black, Kevin? That's racist.
Whoa!
Oh, he's purple and he's black. Looks like
Oh
the
my
same.
god! They both were purple and black. What the hell? That's kind of crazy. We're racist now, you guys. Or maybe the writers, the
all
writers.
Of our listeners. There they go.
Yeah, don't listen to our shows anymore, guys. Clearly, we call out the racism in this stuff. No, but that's actually really interesting that they would do that. But to me, I thought to myself that Adam Warlock was supposed to be this perfect being, Superman type. Like he could really be held back by that, Oh man, I want to see Adam Warlock fight the Superman type from the Celestials. No, not the Celestials. The one with the people that work for the Celestials.
Oh, the Icarus.
The
from
Eternals.
The Eternals?
Icarus.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yes. I want to see that fight, but we can't because the sun burned Icarus and whatnot. Go for it.
Oh, right.
Oh man, what a shame.
Yeah.
Maybe in Multiverse and Secret Wars or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I am jumping way off topic right now. Adam Warlock, Raul, what did you feel about this whole scene with this introduction to the High Evolutionary and whatnot?
Yeah, we get it pretty off the bat. This High Evolutionary is a pretty bad dude. Of course, I mean we see way more of that later on, and I've just God, what's his name? Chukwudi. I can't remember his last name, but he's the guy who played from Peacemaker, and he
Yep.
plays the High Evolutionary here. He does a great, fantastic job with this
Absolutely.
character, and I have never hated a Marvel villain so much, and I mean that in a good way. You know, like
Yeah.
you really hate the guy and you really want to see him get his comeuppance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, he's just pure evil. And I've never wanted to see a villain suffer so much than this guy. And he does a great job, and it's very effective. And I guess with the stuff he does with Rocket later on, I'm assuming maybe that's what you were also talking about with your friends, Ted, about the emotional manipulation and the animal cruelty and all that stuff.
Yes.
But to me, it was very effective, and it makes you hate the guy so much. So yeah, I like that we get introduced to him here. I like the way we're introduced, and we find out, yes, the Sovereign were created by him. And so I was wondering how they would come back, how they would bring them back around, and how they would introduce Adam Warlock, because we did get that teaser at the end of Guardians 2 with the cocoon. So I was wondering how that was going to come back into play.
Also, may I just add, I was watching this video on YouTube the other day about like Adam Warlock's comic book origins, and there is a lot of connections between him and the High Evolutionary. And so it's kind of nice to see that James Gunn was trying as hard as he could to really make it as close to the source material as possible. It only makes sense that the High Evolutionary is this dude that just wants perfection from everybody. But also this opening sequence, the way he spoke to even his minions was like in a way that you're not perfect, so screw you. Like, I don't need to hear anything from you, you know? And you could tell right away that that's the type of character he is. He did freaking awesome. But any last thoughts on this scene then, gents?
Well, Ted, what do you think?
Oh, yeah,
I don't think you
Ted,
got
what's
a
up?
chance to.
I'm just sitting here in silence, waiting for someone to ask me my thoughts. No.
I'm sorry.
No, this guy, Chukwudi Iwuji, I believe this is his name.
Yeah, Chukwudi.
You guys are both canceled now. You can't
Yeah.
even pronounce his name.
I don't know. I didn't look this up beforehand.
That's why I didn't try.
Yeah. He's a great actor, first of all. Like, he brings it. The one of the complaints I heard about this movie is that it's very yelly, and he in particular is so yelly.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way that it has levels. He's not always at
Yes.
that, 10. And he, when we see him in the present, he's got this weird face, over like pulled back. You can see the stretching on that's like attached to this rim around his head. So you're kind of like, what is that? It's very weird looking. And all you got to do is have a villain try to kill puppies or kittens or whatever cute animal, defenseless, and like you will get everyone on like wanting to see that guy get his, because
it's the John Wick effect.
There it is. Yeah,
Yes.
we were both on the same thought there. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he brought it, and I thought he gave a really interesting performance and is one of the better villains of the MCU.
I agree. Agreed 100%. I might honestly put him in the top maybe top five, possibly top 3. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Well, then on to our next scene here. We got in the next scene, the Guardians have almost reached our OrgoCorp. Drax has a fun conversation about metaphors with Peter Quill when the Ravagers suddenly find them. We discover that the alternate version of Gamora has joined their team after running away at the end of Endgame. The Ravagers and Gamora had a deal with Nebula, and Gamora joins the Guardians on this OrgoCorp infiltration mission. Then we see another Rocket flashback where the High Evolutionary is watching Rocket transcribe some mathematical equations. The High Evolutionary is very impressed and presents his master plan to Rocket: high-speed evolutionary change where primitive creatures become as sentient as other higher life forms. Then he can create a new society of higher living beings. He's struggling to figure out why his plan is still causing those primitive creatures to become aggressive. Then Rocket gives his advice on how to solve the problem, astounding the High Evolutionary. I noticed in this scene, because I've seen this movie twice already. In this scene, you see Baby Rocket, like when High Evolutionary is like, "Come with me, Rocket. Let me show you." Blah 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 blah. He was like, "Oh yeah, cool, but let me grab this one little metal piece before I run off with you."
Mm.
And so like they're already like putting the pieces together for what happens later on in the movie, where you see that he had already collected all these little mechanical pieces so that he could put together a gadget to break free. Not that he planned to break free, but I think he just was that smart that he, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I thought that was such a cool sequence, but also the fact that oh, where was I going with this one? Oh, the Gamora sequence. Like, it's weird because storytelling wise, watching this sequence go down where Gamora finally showed up, all I could think was, of course, she had to show up here because we gotta keep this stuff interesting. Of course, they're gonna have to run into the Ravagers and blah blah blah. But I think the way that Gamora is being presented now is really cool. But also, it frustrates me that Peter Quill and all the other characters keep on saying like, you've just forgotten what you've done, but this is what you did, and this is who you are. Guys, she hasn't forgotten anything. She never experienced those things. It's not the same thing. So the whole movie, from the beginning, when we first see her, when they're saying that to her, all I can think is, "What are you talking about? Like, you guys, just move on. The person you knew is dead. God, like, why do you keep trying to change her into someone else?" Um, yeah, those are my thoughts on those. Also, the Drax metaphor scene was hilarious. But I'll let you guys go on and say what you thought about it. Ted,
Yeah,
let's start with you.
I got some stuff to say just off what you said. This is one thing that I thought was, at first I was kind of like, oh, I wish we had like old Gamora back. Wouldn't it be cool if it was just the team back together? But a through line of this, and an undercurrent theme, is letting go of things, like letting go
Mm.
of Guardians of the Galaxy, them letting go of each other as a unit, letting go of roles. And for Peter Quill, it's learning to let go of this one, because she came back in physical form, and it's a carbon copy of the same person, but like you said, hasn't experienced any of those things that he knows. It's like he didn't have to grieve the loss of her as hard, and there's like hope within it that somehow she'll remember him and fall in love with him all over again or something. And it's not happening, and there's a point where he really does have to realize that this is an entirely different person.
Mm,
And that she's really dead. Like, she's not coming back. You thought everybody came back and everybody was excited, but she didn't really come back.
right.
Yeah. So it was pretty deep, I thought, that part of it. And then seeing her, towards the end, where you see her with her family and you're like, oh yeah, this is a completely different person. This isn't Gamora that we know. This is someone else.
Mm. The way that Gamora and Nebula also kind of go, mm, mm. Like, it's like, okay, was that just like a thing when they were both baddies with each other? Like I never remembered Gamora doing that with Nebula before. That's, I don't know. I just can't picture the good Gamora being in that spirit. So yeah, you could definitely tell that's a different Gamora. You guys, come on, move
I
on.
mean, there was a point where she was doing Thanos' bidding, back in the day.
Yeah.
And they probably would have had some sort of thing, and she defected, so they probably lost that, after she had become a good guy, so to speak.
Yeah, they definitely had that kind of competitive nature. The beginning of the first movie, where they were both kind of like that, and then, of course,
Mhm.
as the first movie goes on, she kind of changes a little bit. But
Mhm.
yeah, I really like this sequence, and just like, yeah, you realize, like you were saying, Ted, you realize, oh, she is a different person, and this is kind of about letting go, and it actually is kind of a good thing, because James Gunn has always talked about this third one is meant to be kind of some closure on the Guardians stories, and it's meant to be, at least for this iteration of the Guardians, kind of an ending, a closing of the chapter, if you will. And so I think doing this way with Gamora and Quill does kind of put a closure on it, right? I mean, they could always it's all they could always come back around and maybe explore that further, and maybe they can kind of find each other again and fall in love again. But if they don't, it kind of works anyway as like kind of some closure there. So they could go either way with it. But yeah, I really appreciated that too.
Yeah,
And then yeah, like she has her own with the Ravagers, she has her own family. You know, she goes back to her family at the end, and she seems genuinely happy there with them. So I thought that was a really nice touch.
I genuinely just was not interested in having a Gamora that could remember everything again. Because, like, we've already explored that, you know? I think it was kind of a
Right.
nice touch to have this new flavor, this new dimension to their relationship. And I think it worked out. It's just what Ted just said, the whole letting go thing. The whole point of Gamora in this movie was to get Chris Pratt to forget and let go. Not Chris Pratt, you know what I'm saying.
Mario.
Mario himself. Wahoo! Yeah, he had to let go so he could go find the princess, you know? All right, then. Well, next up, we got present day. The Guardians jump out of their spaceship dressed in colorful spacesuits, landing on OrgoCorp. The base is made out of organic material. Gross. The infiltration mission begins. As Nebula begins to poke a hole through the base, Peter starts talking to Gamora about their romantic history. Gamora shuts him down, telling him that she's not the same Gamora. Mantis points out that they can all hear their conversation. Next, the Guardians get inside the base, plant some camera hacks to avoid being seen, then dress up in OrgoCorp uniforms in order to blend in. The head honcho of the security team, played by Nathan Fillion, enters the room with his team to see what's going on. Peter Quill talks his way out of suspicion. The Guardians realize that they accidentally put their spacesuits in the trash bin, and it all fell out into space. We then get another Rocket flashback where Rocket and the other experimented animals talk about their dreams and names. Lila, the otter, Floor the rabbit, and Teeths, the walrus. So I guess, we already talked about Gamora pretty much, but can we just talk about Nathan Fillion for a second here? Because
Yeah,
that was some of the funniest sequences ever. With,
great.
like,
it was so funny.
we've all got our dumb guy, like, oh, yeah, I got the guy. I have a guy. Yeah, of course. You got a guy? I got a guy. The fact that Peter Quill was able to kind of say that about Drax, like, oh, sorry, he's our boss's cousin or niece, nephew, whatever. Oh, yeah, of course. I get you. Like that's just comedy gold, man. Which makes me think this movie was really funny, by the way. I don't think we've brought that up enough, but there was a lot of really great comedic moments in this movie, and I think this sequence alone, from breaking into OrgoCorp all the way to the escape, I think it worked out really well. Let me just make sure I'm not skipping to the future here, because I was gonna start talking about future scenes. Okay, yeah, I won't spoil anything else, but because we're about to talk about it anyways. But opening sequence for you guys, Raul. What did you think about all this?
Can I, before I give my thoughts on this, can I really quickly just, sorry to go back to the previous scene, but did
Go right
anybody
ahead.
give what that whole scene where the High Evolutionary is putting all the animals in the chambers and we're watching them kind of evolve? Did anybody get any like TMNT vibes from that?
Oh,
Just like
yeah, the mutant
like
turtle.
they might as well be the ooze, I'm waiting for Bebop and Rocksteady to show up, but I just
should
put it
have.
there.
Characters looked like Bebop and Rocksteady. Like there's War Pig. I think.
Yeah,
was one.
Yeah,
yes.
War Pig. That's right.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
reminded me.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It made me think about that. But anyway, so yeah, this part here, I really love this. This was so hilarious, and yeah, the funny stuff about the comms, like, oh, we can hear everything you're saying. While at the same time, it was a comedic moment, but at the same time, it did carry the through line between Quill and Gamora. So it wasn't just jokes for the sake of being jokes, but it actually functioned as continuing this story, this subplot with them. So I really appreciated that. Nathan Fillion, I mean, the dude, can we just say I think Nathan Fillion is to James Gunn what Bruce Campbell is to Sam Raimi.
Agreed.
Has he appeared in every Guardians film?
I don't think everyone.
He was in the first one, but he
He was
was
in
like
the
CGI.
Yeah, he did like some mocap, I think, for the first one, but
I just remember him being the dude that could remove his limbs in the Suicide Squad.
yes,
I was
yeah,
like, oh man, like that's the first time I started noticing Nathan Fillion in
Yeah.
these James Gunn movies.
he's
Um,
been in almost every James Gunn film. He's funny. I love that whole scene. Yeah, I got a guy like that. He's an idiot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
Yeah, this is yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else in this scene that I'm missing out here. The Rocket flashback, and we start getting introduced to Lila, Teefs, and Floor, and
Oh God, just tragic.
Dude,
Floor, her name is Floor because she was on the floor. The bunny,
so sad.
The bunny is what got me every time.
right, because I think her experiments are kind of the most brutal and most gruesome of all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a sweet character, and that's what makes it so hard to watch.
The scene was even worse to watch the second time because now you know what's about to happen to them in a couple more scenes.
I knew it was going to happen the first time.
Oh.
I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
You can only assume they're all going to die.
Spider Rabbit is gonna.
But what if Lila had survived, Ted? You don't know.
What's messed up is that in the first movie, there was when they're getting scanned, and it has like their data come up for the first time. They're in that like police lineup. There's the thing that comes up and it says like affiliations Lila. It was like, in the first movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know.
Yeah.
That just made it way sadder.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I have to go back and check that out now.
There's
for real.
There's so much in this movie that if you go back and watch the first one, you'll have the answer. Like this whole movie really seemed to be the answer to all the stuff that Rocket is talking about in the first one.
Yeah. Dude, especially
you don't know what they did to me, and like how we see it. Yeah.
Like I didn't ask to be born this way.
Yes, that's where he gets drunk in the first one. Yeah, man, that has so much weight now. If you go back and watch that, God, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the first movie.
Yeah, you're making me want to do that too.
With all the stuff we know about Rocket's past now, it just gives all that stuff so much more weight. But even before this third one, I remember when I first had seen the first film, that was one of those moments. Like, even though you don't know really everything that happened to Rocket, that was one of those moments, even in that film, where I kind of noticed like, oh wow, they really gave some emotional weight here. We don't know what happened to Rocket, but just the way he acts the way Bradley Cooper, first of all, he's just freaking phenomenal in this movie and in all of them. But just that moment really got me going like, ooh, there's something there. I want to know what that is. It made me want to know, even before you know everything about his past. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
Well, then back to the present day. With the Guardians, Mantis uses her powers on a security guard, making him fall in love with Drax. Peter Quill tries to schmooze his way into his secretary's heart in order to convince her to give him Rocket's information. But it backfires when Gamora comes out and starts aiming her gun, turning everything into a hostage crisis. We get a scene with Gamora, Peter, Nebula, and the secretary going down the elevator. Peter is clearly still holding on to his Gamora. They make it to the floor with the Rocket's information, but then the alarm set off after someone recognizes one of the Guardians. Gamora continues to use the secretary as a hostage while calling out a pineapple head guy. Drax and Mantis start fighting off a ton of security guards, but are overwhelmed. Peter and the others make it to the top floor again and see all the havoc. They lock themselves up in the security room where Peter tricks the secretary into letting him into the computer database in order to mess with all the security guard suits. The Guardians escape Orgo Corp with Rocket schematics. Can I just say that this sequence was the thing that made me realize, like, man, I've underestimated Peter Quill so much.
Yeah.
Like, I think ever since Infinity War, because we all pick on Peter Quill for being the guy he was during Infinity War and causing all this stuff to happen for, the snapping and whatever. But when you see this sequence where he starts trying to put on his charm on the secretary, clearly she's not digging it. But like when I first saw this scene, I thought to myself that he really was just bad at this. Like, he's failing at this. But that was never his plan. His plan was just to get her to, cooperate the way he wanted her to, right? Mm-hmm. I think the way that he does it by the end, where she's like, okay, I trust your stupid plan to talk to everybody on the intercoms. Here you go. Nah, I didn't need to do that. I just wanted to get through the computer.
I'm not that dumb.
Yeah, I'm not that dumb. Like, oh man, you constantly see him do things like that. And it keeps reminding you that he's that type of character where people underestimate him all the time. And even us as the audience, we underestimate him. And yet he tricks not only the characters, but us. And man, like this movie made me appreciate Chris Pratt's performance even more than usual, because I never really thought about that until I watched this one. Ted, what about you? What did you think about all this?
I just want to say especially the design of this planet and this like flesh planet. It was
Yeah,
really unique and weird, and like
yeah.
the like really ridiculous suits that all the guards were wearing. That was really weird.
Dude, so weird.
It's a whole system made out of flesh. It's like disgusting. But very pretty to look at. It was like an interesting design, and I agree with you about the Chris Pratt stuff. Because Chris Pratt, I loved him when he was Andy in Parks and Rec. When he came
Yeah.
in as Star-Lord, I was like, whoa, this is something entirely different. And then for the past few years, he's kind of come out as being pretty right wing, and it's sort of like,
Mm.
ugh. But like, you're watching this movie, and you remember how you felt about him the first time you saw Star-Lord in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, where he does have the charm. Nobody really knows who he is, and he does. He is like the underdog in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this scene just because like the production design was just top notch, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Totally. Also, can we
Yeah.
talk about the Drax scene with the dude falling in love with him?
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of hoping that security guard would come back and they'd do another part of that joke. Like, I don't know, there's a sequence where that security guard shows up at the end of this whole battle, havoc, craziness, and, like, Drax is on the ground, like, about to be attacked again. Like, I thought maybe that security guard would jump in and go, "That's my boyfriend," or something like that, you know? Like,
Yeah, it
So-
seems like the charm or whatever wore off because yeah, he comes back later and he's like, "Hey, I don't know." He's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you guys." Yeah, I thought that was funny. Yeah, they're doing something here with. It's almost kind of a continuation of the holiday special between Drax and Mantis.
Yeah.
They've got kind of this thing going back and forth. They're kind of both of these characters are kind of seen as the outcasts of the group, right? They're especially with Nebula constantly berating them for Drax being too dumb and Mantis, I don't know, but not being very useful or whatever.
Too weak. Yeah.
Too weak. Yeah. So these two have kind of naturally been drawn to each other as this kind of relationship between the two, which I think is really cool. And yeah, they're carrying it over from the holiday special.
That is interesting, like, because the just ideology that clashes with Nebula and Mantis, because Mantis's power is being empathetic, like she's
Right.
super empath, can like feel what people are feeling, and then she's like, you go to everybody's aid every time they feel weak. And I'm like, yeah, that's an empathetic person. This is it's like
Right.
right wing versus left wing, like just people, It was interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. By the way, did anybody catch the secretary? I think her name is Uda. Does anybody know who that is?
James Gunn's wife.
Wait,
No.
Oh,
No. Well,
no.
that's
Oh.
okay. Well,
The chick
yes.
on the
James,
cameras, the chick on the
James
cameras.
Gunn, yeah, James Gunn's wife does show up as like the, I don't know, head of security or whatever. Yeah, that is James Gunn's wife. But I'm talking about the pink lady, Uda.
Yep.
You guys recognize her? She's Ratcatcher 2
Yep.
from the
Rat Girl
Suicide Squad.
Oh, I thought she was just Cosmo and that's it.
No,
Oh, did she do the voice of Cosmo?
No, Cosmo was Sacha Baron Cohen's daughter in Borat 2.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So that's who Cosmo was.
I thought
But
wasn't that the same actor?
No.
Dang.
The secretary in this one is the girl who plays Ratcatcher 2 in the Suicide Squad. So I appreciate it. Those suits, man, those security suits,
So funny.
they're so ridiculous. It's like if the Thing from Fantastic Four had just let himself go. It's just like they just look so ridiculous, especially with Nathan Fillion. He's got his helmet off, and so you just see him with like this, almost like this fat suit, Those are so funny. Yeah, that was a great sequence.
Well, then let's move on here to our next scene. We got the Guardians, now with Rocket's file, see footage and the history of Rocket's experiments. They discover that the passcode to access Rocket's kill switch has been removed. The group speculates that Thiel, one of the High Evolutionary's advisors, has it, so they depart for Counter-Earth. Gamora, however, doesn't want to go with them. After Peter starts to lecture her about who she used to be, Gamora goes crazy on him, almost hitting him in the face until Nebula stops her. Gamora rushes to the back of the ship and tries to contact a Ravager to come pick her up. Little does she know that the Sovereign with Adam Warlock have captured the Ravager she contacted. Gamora gives their coordinates without realizing that they're not Ravagers. The Sovereign Queen and Adam try to go after them in order to save their own sovereign race. I think that whole sequence was really great too. I mean, again, with the whole, it's all comedy centric over here with this movie. When Adam Warlock is just standing around like paying attention to like the wall or something, and his mom's like, Adam, like, can you show him a thing or two? Okay. Just destroys this dude, and the entire body turns to skull. I mean, come on, that's kind of awesome. But it just goes to show you how naive Adam Warlock is as a character, which I think is great because the High Evolutionary decided to take him out of his shell far earlier because he thought that he could get Rocket with him. So again, it goes to show you the imperfections of everything the High Evolutionary makes, so that the dude's never going to be happy. How did this go from like happy joke stuff that I was talking about to now it's this really deep, sad thing about the High Evolutionary?
Well, that's the magic. That's the magic of James Gunn's writing is because of these comedic moments. They're not just comedic moments. They're funny, but they also highlight. They also kind of grow the character development, you know. And with Adam Warlock too, it's showing that there's his ignorance and his kind of childlike nature, you know, do lend themselves to some good comedic moments, but it also does highlight his we see near the end his perspective of and wanting to change his ways.
His imperfections make us become more empathetic towards him, and I think that's interesting. That like if we lived in a society where everything was perfect all the time, then it wouldn't be fun anymore, I suppose. But yeah, Ted, how about you? How did you feel about all this? He's thinking. No, he's eating food.
I muted myself, and then I couldn't get the traction on my mouse.
You're like, oh no, I gotta finish this food. You're mid-bite.
Oh man. Yeah, no, so it was interesting with Adam Warlock because like and they do explain it, like they pull him out of his cocoon early, but I never knew Adam. I was expecting a lot from this character, I think, because I sort of had I played the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and I know he was in that, and he wasn't dumb. Like being dumb, I felt dumb was a little cheap for laughs.
I agree with that.
Like that was my one thing about I thought they kind of did Adam Warlock dirty, but at the same time, it's a Marvel movie. You know, they're gonna have like I don't know if you've seen on TikTok, there are these people that like do humor in Marvel movies, and it's just like he's right behind me, isn't he? You know, like, that kind of stuff. It's like really cheesy.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking earlier, you said something about the guy that comes out with a pineapple head. They did that same joke, but it was a broccoli guy in Ant-Man Quantumania.
That's right.
They just did that same bit.
Oh my God, you're right.
But you know what? The difference was that the joke hit harder in this movie than it did in Ant-Man. Ant-Man was just this awkward, like, also there's a broccoli guy.
Yeah.
Broccoli guy.
Well, it was actually a carrot head in this movie. The guy had a head
that's what it was.
Yeah, not a pineapple.
Broccoli, carrot, yeah.
But yeah, it's the same joke.
Exact same joke.
It was great when you know the thing I liked about this sequence was that after she called him out with that head, after she leaves, then the camera cuts back to that guy again, going, thank God. Yeah. Thank God. I thought we were done for. That's crazy. Like that to me was like that's why James Gunn is the GOAT. Like he's like, let me do a recall really quick. That'd be funny. Oh man, how funny would it have been if that same character had shown up again towards the end of the movie, like right at the explosion, he's running out or something. Come wait, save me. That would have been too good. But I think that character's awesome. It would have been. I'm wondering if it was a little too much at one point because the character's face looks so cartoony compared to everybody else's that I was like, okay, they're really going for a laugh here. But I appreciate it. That dude's head's huge. It's weird.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's just it stands out to me now as like a stock Marvel joke bit. Like, okay, we need to have a part where a character looks like something weird.
Yeah. But and also going back to what you said about Adam Warlock being smarter usually in the source material. Like that's so true. Like he is this perfect being in the source material. So I wonder if maybe this Adam Warlock is dumb and silly now, but he becomes more and more mature and smarter as the his arc goes on.
I think so. I
'Cause-
hope so.
Yeah, because this is only the first time we're gonna see him. You know, we're gonna see him plenty of more times after this. So I'm hoping maybe by Secret Wars he'll be a lot more mature and smarter than the average bear kind of vibe.
I don't know
know?
if you guys picked up on this, but I forget his name, the actor playing Adam Warlock, but he runs like a total goofball. Like,
What?
I never
the
noticed it.
shots. Yeah, if you go back and watch the movie, pay attention to when he runs. He's
Huh.
got like a really clunky right shin or something. He just looks very uncomfortable running.
I'll have to look at that. Will Poulter is the actor.
Wait. Is
Will
it worse?
Poulter.
Is
Yeah.
it worse than Ezra Miller's run?
I mean, that's pretty bad too.
That's a
but,
pretty
you know.
bad run. Yeah. Have you seen that thing? That's just like a weird wavy thing he's doing with his arms. I don't know what the heck he's doing. It
Yeah.
looks very Flash-y, right?
I think maybe he has like, pigeon or wall feet, where like your foot goes. So he's like running, but you'll see when you watch
Kinda
it
like
again.
duck-footed,
Keep an eye out
yeah.
for it. I was like, man, he runs very awkwardly.
Dang it! Now I'm not gonna unsee that next time I see it. Darn you, Ted.
And most of the
Darn
time
you.
he's just laying flat, and flying towards. Have you seen? There's so many memes
Flat-footed.
about
That's what
that.
you're trying
Yeah,
to say.
flat-footed. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
that's what I'm-
flat-footed. Luckily,
I-
he flies most of the time.
Yeah, that's true. His flying makes up for his lame running. Luckily, he's not the Flash either, so that's also good. All right, then. Well, then moving on to our next scene here, we got upon arriving in a suburban town on Counter Earth, the team is met with a lot of skeptical animal-like humanoids. Drax throws a ball in a little girl's face, enraging all the animal people. Luckily, one of the residents shows empathy to the Guardians and allows them to come into their home. We get a whole sequence where the Guardians are trying to ask the resident family for their help to find Theo. Drax is lying down on a couch, Nebula is drinking some delicious-looking blue drink, and Mantis is making sounds that may or may not sound like Rocket is dead. The residents point the Guardians in the right direction, and Peter takes Nebula and Groot with him to the High Evolutionary ship. Not only does Peter tell Drax and Mantis to stay behind and protect Rocket, but he also gets to say the MCU's first official F-bomb. As Peter drives a car for the first time, he, Nebula, and Groot notice the terrible society that the High Evolutionary has made. Drugs, assault, and imperfect society. When they arrive at the High Evolutionary ship, Nebula is forced to wait outside by guards as Quill and Groot board. Peter finally gets the chance to look at the High Evolutionary in the eye. Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on this one. Raul, why don't you start this guy? How do you feel about all this?
Yeah, I enjoyed this scene. This is kind of one of those scenes where we kind of take a break from the action, and it's a lot of jokes, a lot of humor and stuff. But I mean, constantly still driving the story, and it was I really like the scene where Drax keeps trying to lay down on the couch, and they keep telling him, like, that's not what that's for. It's meant for people to sit shoulder to shoulder. Those scenes are really funny. Yeah, the whole thing with the face that Mantis makes to say that Rocket is, I mean, that's the same face. He's dumb, but that's the same face as he's dead. Yeah, these are nice little moments, and then we get to see. They get to hold on. Let me look. Yeah, these are fun, and then they start their mission to go confront the High Evolutionary. Yeah, that was, man, I wish they hadn't well, I don't know, did they put this in the trailers with Peter Quill saying the F word or no? I knew about it.
No, you did. I didn't know.
I knew about it, man. I knew about it going in, and I wish I hadn't. Maybe it was on social media or something. I had heard about it or something like that. Man, I wish I hadn't, because it was great. It was so great. It was so great. The whole thing about the door, like, well, push the button right under. It's under the handle. I love that, and it really does make you think. It makes you go, "Oh yeah, Quill. He hasn't been on Earth for a while. Just the fact he can do all these things, he can pilot a ship, but he can't drive a freaking car."
Yeah.
Just kind of a reminder. And this is another thing. Again, continuing the through line of Quill, because they do kind of set it up in the beginning, talking about Quill going to see his family or going home, and Mantis asking him, like, well, why, maybe you should find your grandfather and blah, 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 blah. So they're planting these seeds for when he eventually does go home near the end. And so just the constant reminders when they when they arrive at Counter Earth, and them asking Quill, is this what it looks like, or something like that. And so it's constantly on his mind, the reminder of being back at home.
Also give you a very Captain America vibe with the whole, Peter Quill trying to go back to his grandfather kind of thing. Like, don't you ever want to go back? Oh, maybe someday. Okay, he's gonna go back in time, probably, or back to his people and whatnot.
Yeah,
but there's a couple of things throughout this movie that reminded me of other films. Like, I feel like James Gunn took a lot from other stories, which we'll get to another one pretty soon as well. But we'll talk about that. But Ted, how about you? How would you think of all this stuff?
Yeah, I think I know they use the same street, I think, in the Christmas special, like when he's going around looking for Christmas lights. If it looked like the same location, and I imagine they must have been shooting both things at the same time, but the thing about this scene that I liked, and I liked this scene and I didn't like it because did they explain why they land where they land and then take somebody's car? Is that a defensive move? Like, what was that? Because it seems so like, here's this giant pyramid thing. We're going to go over here, talk to these people, and then drive their car. I mean, it seemed kind of like a clunky vehicle to get that stuff out of Peter Quill, as far as like, oh yeah, he would know how to drive a car. He would. And seeing people on the streets, they see in the alleyway, there's like a porcupine getting his ass beat by like a hedgehog or something. And
are you saying like, why didn't they just land right next to the pyramid?
That's a great question.
That's a good question. I guess I don't know. Maybe just to have the advantage of being able to sneak up on him. I don't know.
Also, there could be the point of maybe they didn't notice the pyramid when they were landing, because the whole point of them being with these suburban people were like, hey, where's Theo? Because he could be anywhere. That pyramid could be anything,
Yeah.
But like it would make sense to be like, all right, let's assume that one ginormous pyramid is where the High Evolutionary is with his people.
And he knows they're coming.
Yeah.
He wants them to show up so he can, just take care of this. But and for some reason they just happen to land like in the same city where the pyramid is.
It was right next door. Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
There's a line in there that explained that, but it seemed a little like, and then we learned the really cool new spaceship they has like 3 little mini Milanos in it.
It's really interesting looking.
So they wanted to like land and then fly one of the spaceships. They didn't need to like take somebody's car. It was like, it's funny, it was kind of like ham-fisted to get to that.
Yeah, that's true.
What I blanked out. Never mind.
Where am I?
Where am I? What happened here? Is this an episode of a podcast we're doing? Okay, then I guess, is that all we got for this one?
Yeah.
All right. Very
good.
good.
No, the Panda Dad.
That's
the
what.
Panda Dad. Mowing the lawn. Liked that guy.
Yeah.
It's
cute.
Well then, we get the final flashback for Rocket. The High Evolutionary is freaking out, looking for Rocket. He was in the middle of treatment when he found out that Rocket's advice from the previous flashback worked with his master plan. The now higher life form creatures aren't aggressive anymore. The High Evolutionary is furious because he doesn't understand how Rocket surpassed his own knowledge. Without empathy, the High Evolutionary tells Rocket that there's no way in hell that Rocket will ever get to see his perfect animal society. He does, however, want to study Rocket's brain more closely. The High Evolutionary commands his team to incinerate Rocket's friends in the morning. Rocket, scared for everyone's life, whips out some tech he's been slowly collecting and creates a passkey to escape his cage. When he helps Lila and the others escape, Lila gets shot and killed by the High Evolutionary. Rocket, filled with sadness and fury, attacks the High Evolutionary and scratches his entire face off. The High Evolutionary's security shows up and Rocket shoots and kills them all. Then he realizes that the security shot and killed Teeths and Floor. Rocket broken, runs away and steals a ship, finally escaping this hellhole. We've already been talking about this sequence quite a few times, but it is just gut-wrenching. This sequence alone, again, I've seen this twice. The first time I watched it, I was just in complete shock. The second time I watched it, I was tearing up because it was just
Yeah.
you knew it was coming by the second time, unless you're Ted. Ted knew it from the first time, but it was such a cool sequence to watch because it really has that effect on you. It's just pure utter sadness, man. The thing that really got me was when Floor, every time people pull out their guns or people are dying, Floor is just screaming the same words over and over because she's freaking out and doesn't know what to do. And so by the time you hear all the bullets come out from the other security guards, it's already over. Like, it's too late. No more screaming. The screaming stops. But you don't have time to think about it because everything happens so fast. James Gunn just knows how to grab your heart and just rip it right out when you least expect it to. And here I was hoping that these characters survived, but this happens, and then life is sad. Ted, thoughts on this sequence?
Man, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I cried even harder the second time, like you said. But these animals, the bunny with the spider legs, and like there's a scene earlier where they are playing together and they are like enjoying their life as much as they possibly can, which is like a really pathetic existence. And that is where I started to tear up. And then by the time, this happens, it's like full blast because Floor in particular is like this little kid, and like Layla has like, is more like on Rocket's level, and like as far as understanding, she's a little bit more adult, but like Floor is just like a child and doesn't understand what's happening. And it's like the idea that like, we hope we get to see the sky. I hope we get to see the sky someday.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like devastated by this.
My God.
And it's just, this is where my friends were like, "Oh, this is you just care about cute animals." I'm like, yeah, because
that's the point.
That's the point, to empathize with somebody that's in captivity and like all they want is to like see the sky, and that's like, it's not going to happen. And the way that he dismisses that is like, you're so intelligent, you could figure this out, but you couldn't see that I'm never going to let you see the light of day.
Yeah.
Like, whew, it was tough, man.
That was that's the moment where all I wanted to do was kill that guy. Like, the High Evolutionary needs to die after this. The way he just said, "Oh, hey, what do we do with the other critters? Incinerate them." Like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just, they're just trash.
Dude.
Like, that's, oh man.
And when when he realizes, and he lets out this like guttural, like, just
the scream,
primal scream of loss, and then he ravages the dude's face, and it feels good, but it's like not enough because we know those characters are dead; they're not coming back, and like, though he does mar his face, and he shoots a couple of the guys, it's like he's never going to get those people back.
And also, it didn't feel like it was this satisfying attack on him, because you see this character, Rocket, is attacking out of fear and desperation, like, this wasn't like an I win scenario.
I think he was attacking out of pure
anger. There was some anger in there.
And just, you killed my friends. Like,
and there's nothing he can do about it other than
a sad attack. It was,
so. Like you, Ted, I was, this scene and the scene previous where they were playing, these kind of go hand in hand, because I was definitely thinking of that previous scene during this scene, and they're so endearing because they're just trying, like you said, trying to make the most out of their time there, and just the hope of like, we're gonna get out someday, we're gonna get out. And I love the scene where they they come up with their names, and of course, and that's how Rocket calls himself Rocket. And it was just so sweet, and just seeing them playing together and having a good time. They're playing tag, I think. And, despite the fact that they're just like locked up in these cages, they're like you said, they're making the most out of it. And it just like kills you when this other scene comes along. It just like devastated me. Yeah, this is where I was starting to get, even in that scene too. I was the scene where they're playing. I was starting to tear up as well. But definitely in this scene. And if I didn't hate the High Evolutionary already, I mean, like this puts it over the top, you know, and even just the fact that Rocket is crying. And then just him like screaming back at him and making fun of him crying. I'm like, oh,
that too.
you bastard, you! How dare you! And oh my god, yeah, he jumps on him and starts scratching the shit out of his face. And I was hearing like audible gasping in the theater, and just it was insane. But it was still satisfying. Of course, he's still, you know, he doesn't die, but it's just like seeing that anger coming out, and he just snaps. It was pretty satisfying. But again, that was another one of those scenes where I'm like, yep, this is probably the most violent MCU movie.
Well, I think it needed to be for how big of a reaction, you know, he has in the first movie.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It needed to match that, you know, to make sense of that, to go back and be like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because seeing him get worked on and stuff, that's terrible. Like when they're watching like a hologram and they're like, oh my god, I didn't know this is what happened to Rocket. But like the emotional stuff is so much worse.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to bring up the idea that James Gunn had been talking a lot in interviews how this is one of the sequences, like one of the thoughts and ideas that he had in his head. Like this sequence specifically, everybody dying and everybody getting experimented on. He'd been thinking about this stuff since he started Guardians of the Galaxy. And he was like, man, like the day that I get to film that sequence, it's going to be a really interesting day because I can already see it all in my head so vividly. And so it's nice to see what a master class director this guy is. Like the way he presented this scene to us. He knew what we were all going to feel by the end of this. And also I'll add at the end here, the scene, going back to the whole not being able to see the sky, when Lila's on the ground and she's like, oh my God, the sky, I can see it. Like that broke me. I broke. Yeah. That was just too horrendous, which again, we'll talk more about looking at the sky later today, but that's just way to go, James Gunn. Bravo, my good man. Made us cry.
Stick a knife in our guts and twist it.
Jesus Christ was a Jew. All right. Well, listen, let's move on to our next scene here. I'm just stating facts, Raul. We got.
He was a Jew.
He was Jewish. Yeah, very Jewish. So Drax decides to screw the rules and go after Peter, stealing a motorcycle from a resident in the suburbs. Mantis tries to convince him not to leave, but Drax tricks her into thinking that they're just going to go back to the ship and takes her along with him. Back at the High Evolutionary ship, Peter notices Thiel and starts to approach him for the passcode. A pig monster holding back Nebula from going into the High Evolutionary ship finally decides to fly off to the Guardian ship to retrieve Rocket. Gamora is the only one there to stop it, when suddenly Adam Warlock appears, also looking for Rocket. Adam kills the pig monster, trying to save his own people from the High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary finally starts talking to Peter and tries to explain his whole big evil plan. Peter counters all of his points by claiming that he made an imperfect society. His creations aren't working. The High Evolutionary agrees and initiates the destruction and planned recreation of Counter-Earth, which kills all life on the planet, including the Queen Sovereign. There's a lot to dig into on here. Well, first things first, Drax and Mantis, always going to be that funny buddy duo at this point. Just the whole, don't worry, I'm just going to drive our motorcycle right back to the ship. I was like, okay, that's fun stuff right here. And of course her going, Drax, as soon as they start driving off, like, come on, that's good stuff. Good comedy stuff. But also kind of makes you a little frustrated because you're like, Drax, dude, if you had stayed there, like, oh man, I don't know. Everything happens for a reason. Anyways, High Evolutionary ship, the pig monster's voice was something I did not see coming. I don't know if you guys remember, it was very like ladylike, like high pitched. And you see this giant monster pig, and that's not the voice you imagine at first. But hey, it worked out, and then she got her head beheaded. So Adam Warlock did a badass little.
Oh, that was awesome.
But Ted, how about you? What did you think about all that?
So this is a sequence, as the thing is lifting up and the High Evolutionary is going off. They have that crazy shootout. Are we at that part yet?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. That part's coming out. I thought the this action sequence is great, and this is where I first noticed that Adam Warlock runs like a total goofball. But and seeing Gamora, sort of, she clearly doesn't really give a shit, and she just wants to get back to the team and whatever. But she, takes care of Rocket during this attack, which is like he's already dying, and they're just trying to get to, he's already in bad shape, and now he's getting flung around and stuff.
Yeah,
It's a heroic moment to save Rocket, not only from the War Pig, but from Adam Warlock. So it was a nice moment for her.
Yeah, you could tell like she was slowly being chiseled back to having a heart, sort of. Because she you're right, she doesn't really care for the Guardians, but like I think the sequence right before the pig showed up was she saw Rocket sitting there in his bed, and she's like, man, these guys are working really hard just for you, you know that?
yeah.
And then once
You
the
must be a
pig
really loyal pet.
that's what it was. You must be a really loyal pet. Once the pig shows up and starts taking Rocket, like the fact that she even chose to say anything was like, okay, see, you do have a soft spot. You're feeling bad at the fact that it will be your fault as to why Rocket won't be here anymore. So you better do something about it. Which was really nice to see the badass Gamora from 2014, who is now like attacking this giant pig monster. It was nice to see that she's just as tough as ever. Raul, how about you? What did you think about all this?
No, I like this scene. This is get to the point where we start to really ratchet up the action. The action in this movie in general is really good, and it only starts to get better from this point on. Yeah, I love that. That's Adam Warlock's, like, he really likes to decapitate, huh? That's like one
Yeah.
of his go-to moves. The action starts to really ratchet up here, and this is also the scene where Gamora, like right beforehand, is like going through Quill's backpack, right? And he's like, she's
Right.
like taking out the photos of him and his family and like the baseball cards and stuff. So yeah, she's really starting to sympathize just a little bit here. But yeah, I also like that Warlock still is hanging on to that creature that he found his new pet now.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Every time I saw that dog whimper, or that little pet whimper and pee, I would just think of my own dog, and I'm like, man, I gotta go home tonight.
Yeah.
And say hi to
It's
my
just-
puppo.
It's just funny though, this shot where he's like flying towards the camera and he's got this intensity in his eyes and stuff, but he's like holding this fluffy little kind of cute little animal. I thought it was a funny juxtaposition.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, let me just add that when he ripped off that pig's head, I think me and a couple of people in the theater all went like vocally out loud, like, holy crap, it's just so vicious, man. Like the way that James Gunn puts this whole thing on camera, it's great. But yeah, what was the other thing? Nope, I'm blanking out again, man. Look at that, one of those days. All right. Any other
Moving on.
last thoughts on these guys?
Nah.
Okay, then let's move on here. Peter initiates his real plan, which was to kill all the scientists in the room, then jump off the ship with Thiel as Groot follows and flies them off into an open field. Killing Thiel with the falling impact, they retrieved the passcode from him. Gamora arrives with their ship to rescue them, while Nebula, Mantis, and Drax board the High Evolutionary ship to escape the planet and save Peter, who is now falling with Groot and Thiel. As Quill's group attempts to access the code, Rocket flatlines and has a near-death experience, where he reunites with Lila, Teefs, and Floor. Lila tells him that his time has not come yet, as Quill uses the code to disable the kill switch and save Rocket's life. Nebula, Mantis, and Drax come across hundreds of imprisoned humanoid children on the High Evolutionary's ship before being captured. So this sequence, okay, this was the thing I was trying to talk about earlier, how there's a couple things that James Gunn has stolen from other movies. The whole Lila being like, oh yeah, you can come with us, but not now. It's not your time. I'm like, all right, Deadpool too much with Vanessa. All right,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on. I see.
That was
I
one
see
of my
you.
friends' complaints. Yeah, they said, "Oh, Deadpool did it already." I was like,
But you know
Yeah,
what though?
that's
Like,
true.
it's
Down
weird
to
though.
the same line too.
That shouldn't be a complaint though. I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like it worked really
Yeah.
well for this movie. But like you can't help but think of Deadpool 2 because it's already been done, right? So, I think it still made me teary-eyed. You know, it still got me emotional, and it did what it needed to do. But also the whole, man, I just got so frustrated when it's like Peter Quill and his side of, or his group is already falling down when the other group's already trying to get in. I'm like, oh, you missed each other by like a second. Come on.
They do that a couple times too. That
Yeah.
right? They're always kind of mixing. Oh, I thought you were on the ship. No, wait, you're on the ship. You know, just that kind of yeah. They do that a few times.
It happens too many times. I'm tired of that. They should have just known. Anyways, that's ranting Kevin for you. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Ted, speaking of Ted, what did you think?
Just when I thought I was done crying, you know, they last this
Yeah.
final scene, and they're in like, it kind of reminded me of Harry Potter. Like they did a similar like
Yeah, it looks
Snow
like
White
yeah,
when he goes to see Dumbledore in Wizard Heaven or whatever.
right, like the train station or whatever.
Yeah, maybe the
Like-
Matrix too. I don't forget, the Matrix did something like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, and I was kind of hoping that the well, it was interesting that they still had their mechanical parts in this,
Yeah.
you know, heaven, purgatory, or whatever.
We're still robots in heaven.
We're trapped
Oh.
in purgatory now.
Oh man.
Do they ever get to see us, guy? Jesus. Yeah, this is where it starts to ramp up, and man, when I didn't know at first. I saw like, oh, you know what to do with these, and then you kind of forget that, you know. And it's a little suspect that they don't scan Groot. Also, they're just like, well, he's made of wood. So
Yeah.
like,
I'm not gonna scan a
don't need-
tree.
don't even need
Yeah.
to scan him at all. It's like, well, but then when
That's
he gets
your
up,
fault.
the reveal was fantastic. And then seeing him sprout wings and become like a hang glider, that was new.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, Groot
So
is
badass.
useful again. You know, that was because Groot was cute when, you know, it was cute merchandising opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I started being like, man, I miss when he was like really, really cool.
Me too.
Cool stuff. So it was nice having him back in like full force.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I think I've said this before on the show. Like I'm getting tired. Like I want to get back to adult Groot again because as cute as the baby Groot was, and even teenage Groot was he was so moody and didn't. I was so happy to see, like you said, Groot back in full force and being a badass too. But still has like a slightly different personality than the first adult Groot. I like that he's a little different. This is like a new Groot, but still he's finally back to form with being a competent badass. Also, I want to say, well, sorry, Ted, I think I cut you off. Were you? I don't know if you were finished or not. Oh, okay. I did they straight up commit murder on this guy? Like, okay. This guy Theo, like I know the Guardians, like later on, especially in the hallway fight, they end up killing a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
But it was in this scene that I don't know why it stuck out to me in this scene where they kill this guy Theo. I'm like, Jesus, they just straight up killed this guy. Like
It was just the level of anger that Peter Quill had when he did it that I was like,
yeah,
damn, Peter, okay, like.
it just
Dude.
stood out to me. Like,
But you
and
know
then
what?
later on, they kill all those people in the hallway fight. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, they're just killing everybody. But yeah, I don't know. That part was just like maybe go, damn.
There was a part of me that when the more I've thought about it, it makes me think of how Peter Quill does have a short temper at times. I mean, look at the whole Infinity War situation. Like the
Right.
fact that he had a short temper is the reason why everything happened the way it did by the end of the movie. But you know, the fact that he's so caught up right now with this is the doctor that helped screw up my friend. You know, like of course I'm gonna be this outrageously angry towards him, and do what I gotta do to just get that passcode. You know, but either way, you're right. It was very, 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 very dark.
There's a lot of cloudy morals on this. It was like, we don't kill people except for all those people, and then we definitely feel
Yeah.
bad for like animals that were turned into robot things. But
Well,
now
see,
we're
like-
gonna kill all these ones, you know.
But everybody gets a second chance.
Yeah, well, later down in the next couple scenes, there is that sequence with Rocket where he's going to be able to get the chance to kill the High Evolutionary and goes, nah, because I'm a guardian of the galaxy.
I'm a guardian. The Guardians don't kill except for like
soon as,
2 dead bodies thrown everywhere, you know?
Totally, right? Like, as soon as he says that, I just see all the other Guardians going, yeesh, well, we killed like 700 people already. Like, trying to get you out of here. Like, what the hell? So it is kind of a funny thing. Maybe that's how Rocket views his own leadership. He doesn't want people to be killed anymore. But even that doesn't make sense because he kills so many people as Rocket Raccoon. You know, like, I don't know. He's trying to give mercy. There could have been a better line at the end there. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like video game logic. You know, you're the hero. You're Nathan Drake. You know, taking out bad guys and getting treasure and meeting girls, and then you look back and he's killed like 800. He's a mass murderer. He's
a mass murderer.
Yeah, he killed every guy he came into contact with.
Yeah, that checks out actually.
But still the good guy.
Very Batman-y of him. Very Ben Affleck Batman and Michael Keaton supposedly. Michael Keaton kills some Batman or kills some people too in the first movie.
Interesting.
And one person in the second movie. Fun facts.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole idea that Batman's like, I don't kill people. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Batman Returns. He freaking strapped a thing of dynamite on a guy and exploded him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
When did that come about? Yeah, I don't kill people.
I only kill people if they don't die from dynamite. You know.
Yeah. You can assume they. It's like I use
he got knocked out. Yeah. He was just so tough. It knocked him out. It didn't kill him.
It's a special dynamite that only knocks people out.
But Michael Keaton, what about the first movie? We don't need to talk about that. That's
he right before he hit the ground, he got caught up on a clothes wire.
Yeah, that's it. That's
like more than 10 people died in the first Batman movie. And I'm saying that because I literally just watched it recently. And also, he kills freaking Joker. Spoiler alert. Yep. Oh, the spoilers are fun. Anyways, we're getting so off topic here. Why don't we move on to our next sequence here? If you guys are ready. Anything else? Yep. All right, perfect. Quill's group sets out to rescue the 3 who are placed in a chamber with monstrous obelisks. Mantis befriends the obelisks, allowing the group to escape and reunite with Quill's group. Together, overpowering the High Evolutionary's army, cue the epic one-shot hallway fight sequence. Kraglin and Cosmo arrive on Nowhere, and Cosmo creates a telekinetic tunnel connecting Nowhere to the High Evolutionary's ship to free the captured children. Rocket discovers imprisoned animals on the ship before being attacked by the High Evolutionary, but the rest of the Guardians help subdue him, leaving him to perish on his ship. The Guardians rescue the animals and lead them aboard Nowhere. Quill nearly dies trying to cross over, but is saved by Adam, who had a change of heart after being saved by Groot. I didn't mention the sequence where Drax decided to talk to the kids and speak their language after like 2 scenes of not doing that.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was like watching this movie twice already. Like, I get why that sequence was used in the movie, but at the same time, the first few times watching it felt like it didn't really make sense to add this jokey scene in here. Like, I would have rather he just spoke the language with those kids, but again, it wouldn't have made sense then to push further the whole, Drax, you're not a destroyer, you're a dad, by the end of the movie. It just felt like it slowed down the scene, like it slowed down what could have been happening already, and we could have done that a little smoother or quicker in a way. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It is what it is. Raul, any thoughts from this whole sequence at the end?
Well, yeah, talking about the Drax thing, I was it was a little jarring because I understand but they're trying to do closure on the whole dad thing with Drax and stuff. But I feel like, could there have been a better way to do that? It just kind of didn't hit me the way I think the movie wanted it to hit me, where he's like being goofy and making the quote unquote monkey sounds. And the music is like swelling and it's it's like this weird thing where the movie's telling me like, oh, this is a happy, a cute moment and stuff. I'm like, no, there's still like, I don't know if this serves Drax's character or not, because they're still leaning into the fact that he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And if only there was a way where he shows finally his fatherly instincts with these kids without also highlighting the whole thing about him being an idiot.
Yeah.
it might have a better impact where you almost go like, oh yeah, like I forget, like there's more to him than just being an idiot,
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just feels like because he's he's been very useful in past movies. It felt kind of like
Right.
him and Adam Warlock were both dumb for laughs, and it was like,
Yeah.
or like to push the motivation, with him and Mantis. Like he's not really that dumb. Like
Right.
I know this,
He
but
just got dumber as the movies went along
yeah,
because I guess well, in the first one
comedy.
he was like the standout, right? In the
Mm.
first one where his comedic timing was really good, and then they just started to lean into that a little too much to the point where it just got ridiculous. And I was kind of hoping that they would give they do give kind of some closure to Drax, but I thought they were going to do it in a way where it just made it a little more serious again. Because going back to the first movie, I mean, the whole reason he hates Thanos, or is it Thanos or Ronan? I can't remember who it is that he has the
Ronan.
vendetta against. Ronan. The whole reason he hates Ronan is because he killed his wife and his daughter. Like, that's some deep stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to take it back a little more serious again in this whole him dealing with a father, but they just handled it. They handled it in a way where it just kind of undercuts the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
What about the all these the obelisks showing up in groups of 3 and suddenly Mantis saying, "Oh wait, they're just after batteries. We could just be friendly with them." Why didn't they just do that in the second movie?
Yeah.
Because they didn't have Mantis.
Oh,
in the
that's true.
second
They didn't
movie.
have Mantis. That's a good
Mantis
point.
didn't show up until later because that was at the very beginning of the first. of the second movie.
That's true.
right.
And also Mantis probably was the only one that knew that information, which is why the Guardians probably went after the fighting route for the beginning of the movie. That makes sense. Okay, all right. Then I take that back. That's fine. No more questions on that one. But
Can we just say I feel like they kind of made a big deal about Kraglin being part of the group in like the last few films, and it's almost like I feel like they just didn't know what to do with him.
yeah,
They give him a little thing where he's like still trying to figure out the powers with the arrows and stuff, but
they didn't give us enough scenes for that, I think.
it seemed weird. They just didn't. It's like they didn't know what to do with him. So let's just have him stay on nowhere for almost the entire film.
Yeah, and it's
except
just
for the beginning and the end.
him mastering the spike thing with his whistle. Like I feel like it just wasn't really earned by the end. Like I know they kind of
because he's barely in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. They just cut to what's his name, Yondu. Yondu's just in a mirage, like from far away, going, "Come on, boy, you know what to do." Like just believe in
Force. Use your heart.
Use your heart. Use the force, Luke. I was like, man, that's it. That's all you're gonna give me. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi had a better better scenes to build that up. Yondu didn't even show up till the very end of this movie. Like that James Gunn only brought him into this scene because he's like, I want to hang out with the actor. I love him. He's awesome. Yeah. Like I bring my friends into my movies. Like but like story wise, like you should have heard Kraglin at least like debating to himself about like, oh, Yondu wouldn't have been able to do like this, and maybe Cosmo could have been all like the supportive dog that's like, yes, you can. Yondu would have believed in you, okay? Now tell me I'm a good dog. No, you're a bad dog still. God damn it! Like, give me something with that relationship, which also brings me to that Cosmo stuff. Like, I do also
the bad
like
dog thing with him with Cosmo and Kraglin.
That worked. That worked for me. But I think it was the Kraglin finding his own problems and figuring out his own problems. Like that could have been a cool little Cosmo Kraglin stuff connection between the two of them that eventually makes Kraglin say, "You are a good dog because you've not only helped me fight these monsters, but you've also helped me find the confidence in myself." Yeah. That would have been great.
My buddy Tom Bambera has this. He's like, basically, it's James Gunn's mom going, "You need to put your brother into the movies. You need to give Sean something more to do than just be the mocap for Rocket."
Yeah.
All right, Mom.
I do like Sean Gunn in this role as Kraglin, though. I just feel like I do feel like he was kind of underserved because they just made such a big deal about like, well, Kraglin's part of the team now.
Yeah,
You know, and the marketing and the posters, it's
Yeah.
Kraglin with the other Guardians, you know? So
I
the
thought
fact that he's just like relegated to nowhere for most of a big chunk of the movie was just strange.
But he does come in, with he flies pilots the ship in,
Right,
and
yeah.
when he finally does get to use the arrow, it's a nice cathartic moment of like, oh yeah, now he can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So he doesn't get much, but what he does get, I think, was a lot better than any outing he's had so far.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And for
Also-
me, that whole thing about bad dog, and then finally at the end, good dog. She's a good dog, or he's a good dog. That I enjoyed that part. I thought
Yeah,
that was pretty
yeah,
well
totally.
a good payoff.
Well, let's jump back to the one-shot hallway fight sequence.
So
Because
good.
my God, my mouth was gaping wide open. Like I could not stop being incredibly amazed by this sequence. It looked so well done. I mean, I don't know how James Gunn does it, man. I think when I saw this sequence, I thought of the Suicide Squad with the fight sequence between what's his name? John Cena and the other guy who gets stabbed in the heart.
Idris Elba.
Or
Peace-
Flag.
Oh,
Randall
Rick
Flag.
Flag.
Rick Flag and
Rick Flag.
Peacemaker, when they're fighting each other and the helmets, like Peacemaker's helmet's on the floor and the camera's watching the helmet and moving from side to side, and you see the fight sequence happening through the reflection of the helmet.
Yeah.
Like that, I know that was a more, I guess, quote unquote, simpler shot to do than this huge one shot fight sequence, but it felt that memorable to me. Like when I think of this movie, I'm always going to think of this freaking long fight sequence that was so freaking epic. You get to see the best in all the Guardians, how they work together.
Yeah.
And not only that, but in the fight sequences, there are funny moments where you see reactions of bad guys right before they get their faces bashed in, and Peter Quill throws a little bomb on someone's back and they start freaking out and they all show up at once and they all get shocked at once. You know what I mean? Like everything just flowed so well with each other. What about you guys? What were your thoughts on this fight sequence?
So good. I mean, I think this is the best team shot since Avengers 1.
Agreed. Yeah.
I agree.
It hit on all cylinders. It was a long shot, and it everybody had their time to shine in it, that was like rarely have we seen the kind of action you want from a team up like this. Like I would love to see X-Men pull off something like this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Totally. Oh,
That
man.
was so much. And then of course, No Sleep Till Brooklyn on top of all that, just it was so badass. I mean, it really made the scene. Oh God. And there were so many points where there was this one part where I was wincing when Drax throws the knife at the guy's leg, and then the guy falls, and then his leg he twists around the knife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Remember that part?
He pins him on the wall.
Oh yeah, he pins him on the wall, and then the guy lets go of the ceiling, and he's twisting around the knife, his leg is twisting around the knife. I was like, oh my God. There was some brutal action in this, and some, it was good. It was really good. I loved this scene to death.
Now let's also talk about the sequence between Rocket Raccoon and the High Evolutionary at the end of this.
And the little
movie
baby
here.
raccoons.
The little baby raccoons. He finally finds them, and he sees the sign that says, "These are raccoons from Earth." So officially, he can say he's a raccoon after all these years.
I love that.
My
Rocket
God.
Raccoon.
Well, okay, and that's now to me the most satisfying death scene is the High Evolutionary's death scene. Technically, right? Because he sort of dies in this, but from what I've heard,
He gets beat. Yeah.
from what I
he
heard,
gets his faces. We see what happens.
That's what it was. That's what it was. He gets his mask ripped off. But the sequence where High Evolutionary is going nuts on him and trying to throw him all around, and finally Rocket activates his boots. They land on the ground, and he goes, "It's Rocket Raccoon." Boom! My God!
It was so satisfying.
They'd set up the gravity boots way early in the movie, and I totally forgot about them.
First 5-10 minutes of the movie was that setup too.
It was a good setup. And then, of course, all
good.
the other Guardians coming in, too, and just, helping him out and letting him have it. Oh, my God. It was, so brutal, but so freaking satisfying just
It's like
watching
if
the
you
High
took-
Evolutionary just get beat to shit.
It's like if you took the Hulk scene from Avengers where he grabs Loki and just starts slamming him
Yeah.
down on the floor over and over, except with
yeah.
all of the Guardians at once doing that. Oh my
Oh,
god.
it felt so good watching that, especially after everything you've seen from him and just how vile and how just awful this guy is and everything he's done to Rocket and Lila and Teefs and Floor and just the seething evil from this man, and you freaking hate him so much. To finally see this scene was just like, oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Now I know James Gunn mentioned in an interview that apparently High Evolutionary survives, and they took him to nowhere to go to jail.
Really?
I've heard. That's what I've been hearing. I don't want to make that official confirmation, but that's what I've heard people say from his interviews.
James Gunn
yeah,
said that, or he kind of alluded to it.
They said that James Gunn said that High Evolutionary is now in nowhere in their prisons. Which I think, if that is true, that is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, dude, you're just asking for Kang the Conqueror to team up, you know?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I mean, that would be pretty epic, though, like, to have.
that would be pretty epic.
Because he's so evil. We hate him so much, but we didn't really get to see him get,
Yeah, that would undermine everything.
It
Like,
would.
okay, you know what? Scrap Majors, okay? Like, if you wanted to just bring back High Evolutionary and just
That's
say,
what I'm saying. Yeah.
I've learned from my
Yeah.
mistakes, you know, just give him
Except he, like, leaves his face off. He's just like,
Yeah, that was pretty gross.
yeah.
But
it
after he
was.
peels his face, I was not expecting that level of gore in this movie.
Yeah. It was good.
I'd be
Yeah.
totally okay with that. It's not the
Yeah.
Kang dynasty, it's the Evolutionaries dynasty. The High Evolutionary dynasty.
It's-
That's a long title. I don't know. Maybe not.
it's-
We'll workshop it. Well, then, gentlemen, moving on to our close to final scene stuff here. We got in the aftermath, Quill leaves the Guardians, bestowing the captaincy to Rocket before leaving for Earth to reunite with his grandfather, Jason. Mantis embarks on a journey of self-discovery with the Obelisks. Gamora reunites with the Ravagers, and Nebula and Drax remain on Nowhere to raise the rescued children. And also, this opening theme song, or the closing song, was Dog Days Are Over by
Yeah.
Florence and the Machine,
Yeah.
which I gotta
good.
tell you, like, James Gunn, he just knows what he's doing with these soundtracks, man. He knows exactly what song works for this situation. It was perfect. And the second time around when I watched it, I almost bawled my eyes out when Drax came up to all the kids and started kind of doing like this little slow dance right before Florence started singing again. And it's just like, it's just this great party life. All I want to do is hug my best friends after the movie's over once this sequence happened. But yeah, what do you guys think of, how do you guys feel about the sequence? But also, what do you guys think of each of these characters? Like, where are they going to go now in the future?
Mantis is clearly going to go to the other side of town because that's where she wants to. She's just kind of like, I'm going to go over here.
That's true. She didn't really leave Nowhere, did she?
Walk down the alley.
I'll be in the eyeball. Thanks, guys.
I have literally nowhere. I don't know where I'm going. And I've got 3 giant obelisks. Can't really travel with them, so we're going to hang out in the streets. We're homeless.
Bro,
Can I just say really quick, going back to the previous scene when Quill loses the Zune and then he goes back for it and then he ends up in space. There's no way. There's no way he would have survived that.
No.
There's just no freaking way. I mean,
His
he was
face
starting
gets
to
all like puffs up, you know? I was
Yeah.
that should have been it. Yeah, that's true.
That was one of the things about that part that was like, I don't know, man. He just wouldn't have survived, and it's
Isn't
just
it?
weird because that was one of the at different point. Yeah, they do the Atom.
I did
know,
like
like-
that. That was
Yeah,
fun.
like the God and Atom touching fingers. Yeah, I thought.
But also, he comes out of like literally nowhere.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's right. Yeah, I just thought that was strange and. Yeah, where were his rocket boots? Where is his mask? Like his little helmet? Where are those things in this movie? He had no helmet.
Did he lose the rocket boots? Like, was this covered in a previous movie? Or
I
think
don't
it
remember.
was.
I don't know. No idea.
I don't even remember.
He just
but he
forgot
doesn't
to
have
bring
them.
them that day.
The whole movie, he doesn't have his rocket boots. He doesn't have his. You think that would have come in handy in that sequence there,
Hmm?
but Yeah, I thought that was strange that like he was out there in space for that long and his face started to get bloated and then the next scene he's like fine.
Fine.
Like he's totally fine. He looks fine. There's the swelling has all gone down. I'm like, there's no way he would have survived that.
They just took the magical medikit pack that you just put over
Just put it on his face. Yeah,
instantly.
maybe. Yeah, all better. There you go. All fine.
Yep.
Yeah, but I thought that was weird. But yeah, the rest of this, I really like where they end this, and everybody has their thing that they're gonna do now. Everybody's parting ways, and it is a satisfying ending, and it's just kind of, it's a feel good ending, right? And especially after the intensity, the emotional roller coaster we've kind of been through, it's nice that we get to settle here on this very positive note, this feel good ending. Everybody's got their, things that they're gonna go do now. And so I don't know. It's kind of I can't really speculate from here on out where we're going to see everybody again, when we're going to see them again, and how we're going to see them again, other than probably Secret Wars. But before then, if we see any of these characters before then, I don't know. I don't know where they could fit in the other movies that are coming out.
You kind of beat me to it, Raul, because I was going to ask if you guys thought any of these guys were going to show up in other movies. Do you guys think they're going to do a Guardians movie again, but without these Guardians? Like, are they going to continue a Guardians franchise, or would you guys rather have the current new Guardians group show up in just other movies and other stuff?
Yeah,
they could. Yeah,
the second one. Yeah, like it would be nice to see Rocket and Groot because we get this final cutscene. Are we there yet? I don't think we're there yet. I'm skipping ahead.
I mean, we could probably talk about that because the next thing is the mid-credit scene stuff.
Yeah. So we see that there's a new team, and Rocket and Groot are still on it.
Yeah, I love that Rocket is the leader now. I think it was earned.
Yep, definitely.
It just makes sense. It made sense, That's why I'm really curious about the little girl with the white hair and the one blue eye kind of thing.
Yeah, where'd she come
from? She's so badass.
Yeah.
Like, I know that she came from the white-haired kids from the movie towards the end of the movie, right? I mean,
yeah, she was one of those kids, but yeah, I don't know
what is her origin.
What's her deal? Yeah.
Now the other
show
thing
up again later on with the other Guardians.
The other thing also is going back to the whole, do we think a Guardians movie is possible? I think I might actually want to say no to that because look at how many heroes we've got to talk about right now still. We've still got Moon Knight stuff to talk about, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Wanda is back as Scarlet Witch probably. Now we're adding Agatha Harkness. We're adding all these other movies. We're doing the Thunderbolts. There's so many superheroes right now.
Fantastic Four,
Deadpool, like the X-Men, we've got so many IPs that need to come into this franchise. We don't have time to do more Guardians movies, I think.
Yeah, I think they're done.
I think Kevin Feige's probably looking at the possibilities of future Guardians movies and going, are you kidding? We're not going to stack up to James Gunn's Guardians movies. That's the last thing we need as the MCU is to make another Guardians movie now that James Gunn is gone. And if it flops, people can just go, see, now that James Gunn's gone, Guardians sucks ass. Like, there's no way.
I can see it. I can see it happening, but just not for a long time. Definitely post Secret Wars. But I think until then, this new version of the Guardians, we probably won't see until Secret Wars, and even the older Guardians too. Like, I'm convinced we're in Secret Wars. We're gonna get Peter back. We're gonna get Gamora. We're gonna get everybody else back for one last kind of thing, as well as the new Guardians.
And I know that Dave Bautista, who plays Drax, has said things like, "This is it. This is my last rodeo. I don't want to play Drax again because I'm done." But, you're not going to do Secret Wars? Just one more last hurrah? Come on. You got to do one more. At least one more. Come on.
I did notice
Robert Downey Jr. said that, too. Come on.
Yeah, they've all said that, yeah. No, I do remember that in interviews, Dave Bautista was talking about how, he's done. He doesn't want to... He's getting old now, so he doesn't want to have to... he's not going to be in as good shape as he was before. So he's like, with this third one, he was kind of getting close to being done with it. And I notice now he's got clothes on, like he's not shirtless anymore. I wonder if that was Dave Bautista going, don't put the makeup all over me. I don't want to do that again. Just give me a shirt.
Yeah.
Just put makeup on my face and
vest or a
hands.
jacket or something.
Yeah.
Hands.
Also, maybe it's just me, but like I think Dave Bautista's neck has looked a little chunkier as the movies have gone by.
Oh, yeah.
Which, hey, I mean, that's just
That's why the vest.
Yeah, that's why the
Hide
vest
it
by
all.
this movie. Like, who knows? Maybe he didn't work out as much as he could have. Because the first time he was like at the prime of his life, you know?
Oh yeah, now he's what, almost 50?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
played this character for almost 10 years now. That's
Mhm.
kind of insane.
Oh my God, yeah.
2014, right? Well, technically he's worked on it for 10 years because he probably
54,
started
he's 54 years old.
Oh,
54
wow,
years.
he's
Wow.
over 50. Did
Well,
not realize that.
Yep.
Definitely a dad. Definitely a dad age. That's for sure. But yeah. So let me just real quick bring up the mid-credits scene, which I know we've already kind of dabbled in it. But the new Guardians team consists of Rocket, Groot, Cosmo, Kraglin, Adam, and Fila, one of the rescued children, and Adam's pet, Blurp, as they take on a new mission. In a post-credits scene, Quill eats breakfast with Grandpa Jason in a funny gag where his grandfather is reading a newspaper reporting Kevin Bacon's alien abduction. So yeah, I forgot that Adam's going to be part of the new Guardians team.
Mhm.
Again, I think he's got a lot of growth to go through, and
Right.
you know, if they don't do a Guardians movie, they're probably going to do something with the Guardians somewhere else, you know, and because we need to see Adam Warlock, you know, his character development. But also the Grandpa Jason one, I thought that was pretty funny with the whole Kevin Bacon alien abduction. And it's only a funny thing if you've watched the Christmas special, I suppose. So
Yeah.
I wonder what it was like for people who've never seen any of these movies before to come in and just watch this one. Would they have known who Yondu was when he showed up? Would they have known any jokes, any inside jokes from the end credit stuff here?
I feel like anybody who hasn't seen any of them is probably not like, I'll just watch 3.
Yeah. At
Yeah,
this
that's
point, like,
probably true.
Who does
Yeah.
that? Like, I haven't seen the other 2, but I'm just gonna see it.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
I didn't get any of it.
2 out of 2. 2 out of 10.
I want to know if there are people who've just done that. Well, I'm sure there are, but like, why?
Yeah, go watch the other 2.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to watch the other 2. I just want to watch the third one.
Well, like technically, if you watch number 1 and 2, it means you gotta watch Infinity War and then Endgame, and then you gotta watch this one.
Yeah, you
no, then you gotta
could.
watch Thor, just the first 10 minutes of Thor, and then this one.
Well, I mean, it's better than watching the 35 movies that they have now. How many movies is this now? It's in the 30s.
It's
now.
enough. It's
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. That would be a good truncated marathon. Is just the Guardians films, Infinity War, Endgame, Thor, and then this,
Yeah.
and the holiday special. Oh.
I was
Oh,
going to say 2 things. One, you get to see Adam Warlock's really goofy run at the end of this mid-credit sequence.
I'm gonna pay attention to this next time.
Watch
I gotta
it.
see this.
It's goofy, and I thought the dad did a very good job with the initial seeing Peter for the first time and immediately.
Oh,
recognizing
yeah.
him. I got a little choked up at that.
I did
Same.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we see him a little bit in the very first movie in the flashback.
Oh,
Oh.
grandpa.
And also,
Grandpa,
we
yeah.
can't forget the famous, the legendary Star Lord will return at the end of the movie here.
Had to do that, didn't they?
Had to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I just listening to Chris Pratt talk in interviews about how like he doesn't want to do any movies without James Gunn. Like, oh, I trust James Gunn with my life. That's all I want to do. Why would they tell us that he's coming back, but then not tell us maybe Mantis would come back or someone else is going to come back as well? Like, doesn't it make more sense to just kind of let Star-Lord go? Because it sounds like his story's over. Are we just going to keep him for Secret Wars? Because if that's the case, you didn't have to tell us that Star-Lord will return. You could say most of the Guardians of the Galaxy will return or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an
I think it's
interesting
because they
thing.
don't have any idea what they're doing at this point. I
Yeah.
think there's like a
Yeah.
vague plan. They're kind of like, just like if we could just recapture the magic of like pre-Endgame. Oh.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? The Guardians will return. Why? I don't know.
And also,
I guess maybe because Quill is the one who's the farthest away from everybody else now. Like,
yeah,
all
that
the-
could be something.
everybody's kind of gone their separate ways, but for the most part, Quill is like the farthest away from everybody that, as he could be. So maybe that's just like just to remind you, it's like, well, he's going back to Earth and he's reconnecting with his grandpa and all that stuff, but he'll be back.
All right,
But
well,
it
check
was kind of odd.
Are you ready for this? Here's my theory. Next time we see Chris Pratt's character, Star-Lord will find that humongous celestial whose arm is sticking out of the planet now.
Yeah.
That no one freaking talks about until now.
In the water. Yeah.
Chris Pratt or Star-Lord's gonna find that statue thing in the Antarctic Ocean, and when he touches it, he gains the celestial powers and absorbs it, just like his father had. And he returns, gets back all his celestial abilities in order to join the battle in Secret Wars.
Actually, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
I do know. I have heard that Thunderbolts will address the celestial stuck in the ground. Thunderbolts will address it.
Oh man, it's about time. Listen, I'm also gonna say this. Like, I know Chris Pratt has had a lot of drama behind the scenes, like acting lifestyle wise or whatever. But as an actor, like performance wise, this movie, he nails this role, like nails it right out of the park, man. It's the kind of thing where, like, when I saw Star-Lord will return, there was a part of me that was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Like, I am looking forward to seeing him again because I think he's a great, charismatic character and really, really surprised me in this movie. Like I was telling you guys earlier. What are they going to do with him? I don't know, but I like that celestial idea. So,
By the way, I love how Groot looks by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
That end credit.
King Groot.
Oh man, he looks like a badass. I want to see all this new iteration of the Guardians. I hope we get to see them again because I want to see how they work.
Mm-hmm.
How does Warlock fit into it? Does Kraglin get more to do? Who is this girl?
Kraglin says, hey, guys, I got it. And then, like, you guys can take a break. I'm going to
yeah, and then Cosmo. How is this dynamic going to work? Yeah, Cosmo too.
If you think about it, this team of the Guardians is far stronger than the original team. Like, again, you got the thing that can kill everybody in 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Groot is King Groot. Cosmo has telekinetic powers that she could hold the planet of nowhere with the entire ship of the High Evolutionary together. That's how strong her telekinetic powers are. Warlock?
Warlock. I mean,
what the heck? That's incredible. I don't know what the white-haired girl does, but I'm sure it's gonna be cool. Mm-hmm. She probably has like Sharingan or like, some Naruto thing. Okay, I'm canceled. Anyways, out of 10 raccoons, I give this movie 10 raccoons out of 10 raccoons. Wow. How about you guys?
I'm gonna say 9 raccoons.
9 raccoons. All
9.5, maybe.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I you know what? I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. 9, 10, but I'm just gonna say 8, just to be different. Just because you guys said
out of 8 or 10.
But no, I actually, in all seriousness, I would say maybe about 9. 9 raccoons. This was a great movie. I was so maybe especially with the fact that I feel like we've just been starved of some like really good content coming from Marvel in both the films and the TV shows. It was just so refreshing to get a movie like this that had, you connected so well. It was fun to watch. It was the plot was really good. The character development was really good. It was satisfying. I mean, I'm just so happy again to just finally be like, okay, thank you. Yes, a good Marvel movie, a Marvel movie I loved, which hasn't happened in a while. I haven't felt like that in a while. So
hell yeah, I agree. Ted, any last thoughts from you?
I gotta say I agree on all those fronts. It was really a good time. I thought I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, okay, but then I saw this and was like, oh yeah, that was bullshit. This movie makes Ant-Man in the Quantum whatever just seem like a very ant-sized film, to be honest. See what I did there? Very good. Well then, you guys, with that all being said, we made it to the end. Woo-hoo! Thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram at Real Geek News. You can also follow our separate handles on Twitter and Insta at Kevin A. Rivera VO and at Raul Ceballos VO. Ted, tell us where we can find you. Ted Evans VO.
shit. Everything's
Oh,
VO.
VO at the end of our handles.
We got VO, baby, all day, every day. Raul?
I have VO after being in this hot closet.
Well, also, we got a YouTube channel, guys. We put all our episodes, all our monthly episodes, all our movie reviews, including this one right here. We put it all up there. And also, if you want to help us boost the quality of our show and help people, more people be aware of it, please go on iTunes, leave us a good review, and we really would appreciate it.
Finally, want to share your passionate thoughts and opinions about movies? Any movie reviews you'd like us to do? Well, then send us an email at realgeeknews@gmail.com. We'll leave all the descriptions below. With all that being said, stay stay safe, stay classy, and I really butchered this one. Most important of all,
Stay geeky, my friends.
holy shit.